Welcome to this educational video on membranes and transport in biology. In this video, we will explore the structure and function of cell membranes and the various mechanisms by which molecules are transported across them. The cell membrane is a thin, flexible layer that surrounds every living cell. It is composed of a phospholipid bilayer, which consists of two layers of phospholipid molecules arranged tail to tail. The heads of the phospholipids face outwards and interact with water molecules, while the tails face inwards and are hydrophobic, meaning they repel water. The membrane also contains proteins that span the phospholipid bilayer. These proteins perform a variety of functions, such as transporting molecules across the membrane, serving as channels for ions, and acting as receptors for signaling molecules. There are two main mechanisms by which molecules are transported across the cell membrane: passive transport and active transport. Passive transport is the movement of molecules across the membrane without the input of energy. This can occur through diffusion, which is the movement of molecules from an area of high concentration to an area of low concentration. Diffusion can occur through the lipid bilayer or through protein channels in the membrane. Another form of passive transport is facilitated diffusion, which occurs when a molecule is too large or too polar to pass through the lipid bilayer. Facilitated diffusion requires the assistance of membrane proteins, such as transporters or channels, to move the molecule across the membrane. Active transport, on the other hand, requires the input of energy to move molecules across the membrane. This can occur through the use of ATP, a molecule that stores energy in cells. Active transport can move molecules against their concentration gradient, from an area of low concentration to an area of high concentration. One example of active transport is the sodium-potassium pump, which moves sodium ions out of the cell and potassium ions into the cell. This process requires energy in the form of ATP. The movement of ions across the membrane can also create an electrical potential difference, known as the membrane potential. This potential difference can affect the movement of other ions and molecules across the membrane. The membrane potential is maintained by ion channels, which allow the passage of ions across the membrane. These channels can be gated, meaning they open or close in response to certain signals, such as changes in voltage or the binding of specific molecules. In conclusion, the cell membrane is a crucial component of every living cell, serving as a barrier between the cell and its environment, as well as a site for communication and transport. The various mechanisms of transport across the membrane, including passive and active transport, facilitate the movement of molecules in and out of the cell, while the membrane potential created by the movement of ions across the membrane is important for cellular signaling and function.